Hello, lovelies. Lesley, not quite enough. Do you know what? I don't know. Patience? Time? Love and peace in the world. We'll go with that. How are we all? Hope everyone's okay. Thank you for the comments and thoughts on last week's vlog and also the podcast. I am getting to the messages as soon as I can, so I thank you for them. Just hoping to get to them very quickly. Thank you. Oh, it's been a bit of a week since then. Certainly been a bit of a day. So Saturday had the Zoom call sorted by the lovely Barbara of the Flame and Fibre podcast and hosted by Valerie, who now has a podcast. She put her first episode up. I'm going to get the title wrong if I try and name it here, but I will link it below. So Valerie, who you'll hear other podcasters talk of because we all know her and think so highly of her. She is such a lovely person. She now has a podcast. She's a very talented and prolific knitter. I haven't seen the podcast yet, and you'll understand why in a moment. But yes, I will link her below because she's an absolute sweetheart and deserves to be watched by all. If you have the time and inclination to take on a new podcast, then this is the one I would suggest. So yes, that was very exciting for me. Can you tell? Sunday went hospital visiting. That went well. That was fine. Monday started feeling a bit ill. So I was driving along to my ceremony and I suddenly felt very cold and a little bit shivery and I just couldn't warm up. And I thought, well, have I got cold? No, not really. Because, sometimes you get really cold and it just takes you a while to kind of get warm again. I had the heaters on the car turned up to something like 26 degrees. I mean, it was a tropical storm in here, but just couldn't get warm. Did my ceremony okay. Good old Dr. Theatre came to the rescue and the adrenaline kicks in and you can just kind of do stuff. Going home felt not great, had sort of aches and this shiveriness. And the rest of the day, I kind of did the absolute minimum that I had to. And then I was just on the sofa with a blanket over me and then still shivering. And himself said, "Do you want another blanket?" "Yes, please." I was so pathetic. And that's quite often a sign that I'm about to get a cold. I go through a few hours of not being able to get warm, then a few hours of breaking out in heat sweats. Sorry, attractive. And then a cold comes, and that's what normally happens. But this wasn't happening, and this shiveriness kind of went on. So I didn't go drumming again. Oh, good job I've already become a member. They'd drum me out the core otherwise, pun intended. And I went to bed about 9 o'clock because I just felt really rough. So I slept. I slept deeply, but in fits and starts. And next day I had a ceremony at 10 o'clock in the morning, so I thought, I've got to do that. I did a COVID test. That was negative. Took my temperature. That was 37.9, so a little bit higher than normal, but not really dangerously raised. So I just thought, well, take drugs and get on with it. So that's what I did. Sort of dosed up. Felt really tired. And when I came back from my ceremony and I was kind of writing stuff up, I was falling asleep at my keyboard and not able to type things because you type it and then all the letters get pressed. It was one of those. So I had a little snooze. Then I had a Zoom call with some friends because it was one of the friends' birthdays. Happy birthday, Evelyn. And after that, I started to feel better. So it must have been this kind of odd 24, 36 hour virus thingy that just left me feeling a bit fatigued, but otherwise fine. I feel a little bit warm, but it's not that cold, so that could be why. So that was Monday and Tuesday. So I was meant to be out for a meal with some friends Tuesday night, and I pulled out of that because I thought, whatever I've got, I don't want to give it to anyone else. But then it's Wednesday today, and I'm fine, thankfully, which is just as well, because I had a visit this morning with a family, and my visits normally take about an hour and a half on average, and this one was quite a bit longer, which was fine, you know, it was okay, but longer than I was expecting. So I then had to go straight from there to my ceremony. I had everything with me in case I needed to do that. So I've taken the ceremony, and now I'm sitting in a car park because I have another visit this evening. Sometimes everything just falls on the same day. You never plan it that way, but it just happens sometimes. And I managed to bring this visit early slightly, so I haven't got so much waiting around. But I thought, well, I'll go to Sainsbury's because they have a cafe. Well, not anymore, they don't. So there it is, not quite enough coffee shops. There we go. So yes, they don't have a cafe anymore. Not that I'm really in need of a drink, but I thought I'll have a drink. Maybe a slice of cake or a little treat. None of that. However, Sainsbury's is a large supermarket, so I managed to find a little something to tempt my palate. But yes, it's all been a bit much. So, yes, I will be glad when my visit is over and I get home and I stroke the dog. I was cuddling some dogs during my long visit this morning, which is always a good thing. At one point I stood up to look at something, and when I sat down again, the dogs had gone into where I was sitting. Obviously I'd left it nice and warm for them. So then I had to sit at the other end of the sofa. I love dogs during visits, and people are quite often never say, do you mind dogs? No, I don't mind dogs at all. I'm very fond of dogs. Oh, they can be a bit noisy. That's okay. And you know, with most dogs, you just need to kind of ignore them, make a quick fuss if they come and say hello, and just let them get used to you being there. And then they'll usually settle down. So I'm more than happy to do that. I did have one spaniel sit next to me on a sofa and take the pen out of my hand that I was writing with once, which I'd never experienced that before, so that was entertaining. But no, today's doggies were very nice and friendly. They just needed cuddles, and I was only writing with one hand, so I was happy to oblige. All good fun. Yes, so visit this evening. No dogs there, I don't think. But then I shall head home and cuddle my dog. So like I say, I hope you're all well. I hope that you're having calm and enjoyable times. And I'll catch up with you tomorrow and or Friday. Cheers. Hello, lovelies. We can see why other members of my family are nurses rather than me, because I looked up 37.9 degrees. My temperature earlier in the week. I looked it up to see what it was in Fahrenheit, and it's 100. And apparently, technically, that is a fever. Anything over 37.8 is technically a fever. Good job it didn't get any worse, really, isn't it? Oh, well. I'm sure there were mitigating circumstances. I just got out of bed when I took the temperature, so... Anyway, all better now. One of those funny bug things. So, what does this week hold? Well, after everything got cancelled last week, this week I'm out for dinner Friday evening with friends. Funeral folks, not the funeral folks that I'm going away with next month, but some local funeral friends, so that'll be good. Thai food. And this weekend, Saturday will necessitate a bit of writing up for work, but not all day, hopefully. And then Sunday, hospital visiting. And then what have we got? Next week, more of the same. Probably not as much Thai food, which is a shame. But of course, that's something I could rectify. You know, I could cook something, because we have a lot of ingredients and recipe books, so I could make some Thai food, but I'm not going to. Might have to persuade himself to give that a go, perhaps. Just a thought. This is still the collar of the harvest, which I've just managed to pull my needle out of. Nice work, Les. Which I haven't done much on, as you can see. And normally this would be a straight piece, but I'm making more of a shawl collar, because I do like the back of my neck to keep warm when you get to my age, dear. So yes, that's this week, I think. It just turned into a bit of a strange one. And I mean, even today being Thursday, there are roadworks everywhere. And this happens March every year. The financial year ends on the 5th of April, so all the local authorities are trying to use up all their budget and get everything spent before the end of the financial year. So there are roadworks, it feels like, everywhere. And I was getting a little bit anxious about being late for my ceremony today, because I thought I'd allowed loads of time, but just lots of hold-ups. So just one of those weeks. But that's okay. We've come through. We've got through the other end. And there are people who've had much worse weeks, I know. So if you are one of them, you're in my thoughts. I hope that you're doing okay. And keep yourselves as well as possible for as long as possible. Do the things you enjoy. Look after yourself. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week. Cheers. Bye-bye.